Kat, how did you find carnivore?
Well, um, I guess we could start back when I was growing up. I had a pretty normal childhood. I was healthy. I was an athlete. Um, in fact, until my second year of college, I played sports. And the only health issue I had, I suppose, was I was a little bit extra sleepy. So I was diagnosed with narcolepsy and cataplexy when I was in college. But other than that, life was great. I made it through college. I worked full time once I stopped playing sports. And I think it was around 2016, maybe, my blood pressure started going up, which was concerning. So my primary care said, look, this doesn't fit at all. You're very healthy, you're very active, and you shouldn't have high blood pressure. So he decided to send me for a kidney ultrasound. He said to look for narrowing of the blood supply. And the results were multiple innumerable cysts on both kidneys. So they sent me to a nephrologist. And she told me that um, since I didn't have a family history of polycystic kidney disease and my kidney function was still good, that we would just kind of watch and wait and see because still a chance I didn't have polycystic kidney disease. So years went by, everything looked great. My function was great. My kidneys were still at the upper end of the normal range in size. So with polycystic kidney disease, they tend to grow as the disease progresses, and you end up with these giant kidneys. Instead of a fist, they're like a football. So they just keep watching and waiting. And let's see, I got pregnant and had our first child in 2015. And that went great. Everything was good. I discontinued all my medication before we even tried to get pregnant with her. But then after the pregnancy, I resumed my narcolepsy medications. And by then, I think I was probably on a low dose blood pressure medicine because I had also upped the stress at my job. So there's a chance stress could have played a role in that, or it could have been my medication for narcolepsy, or it could be my kidneys. But either way, I was on blood pressure meds. But that was about it, the narcolepsy meds, the blood pressure meds. So I went on about my business and we decided to have a second child. So I stopped taking all medications and I was pregnant, but that baby, I had a miscarriage with that baby. And then I got pregnant again. And that baby, I had a healthy baby boy. So that's our second child. And, but while I was pregnant with him, I started researching a little bit more about polycystic kidney disease because it was starting to kind of be in the back of my mind. My kidneys had just slightly grown every time they do an ultrasound, which is a little concerning. My function was still pretty good, but I came across this polycystic kidney disease group on Facebook. And there was a gentleman that very strongly advocated a therapeutic ketogenic diet for treatment of polycystic kidney disease. So that was very interesting, and I started researching that. And I thought that was a great idea, but not while I was pregnant. It was like, well, once I'm done breastfeeding, I want to try this. But shortly after I had our son, my kidney function dropped to 51%. So I was at stage 3 kidney failure by then. And I decided, breastfeeding or not, we were going to make a change. So I dove right in and started basically a bulletproof diet. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's a very clean ketogenic diet, basically. And I did that for about 3 years. And I, in fact, have never went back on any medication since then. No meds for narcolepsy. So far, no meds for blood pressure. But about 6 months ago, I just I had that feeling that I needed to make a change because even with the ketogenic diet, I could still make lots of those yummy keto treats. I would just try to stay within less than 20 carbs and eat keto chocolate chips and have wine and different things as long as it, fell within the 20. And I felt like that was getting out of control. So I had started to find some information about the carnivore diet. And in fact, I found there was kind of a little offshoot from the other group uh, where a gentleman was very strongly uh, advocating carnivore was even better fit for polycystic kidney disease. And what he was saying was making sense to me. So I decided on January 1st, I was going to jump in and I said, this probably isn't going to last long, 30 days. I'm going to give it 30 days. And my awesome husband decided to join me because up until now, I was the only one in the entire family that even really, ate anything resembling ketogenic diet. I was always kind of the oddball out at every, family party and everything. So he decided to join me because he wanted to get healthier too. And so we've been doing carnivore since January 1st. Now, I just got some lab work back and using cystatin C, I have it over here. My last GFR, my measure of kidney function, was 88. So I
From
went,
51.
yes, yes. So about a 4-year span, instead of getting much worse, I got much better.
That's fantastic.
Yes, it is. It's great because with PKD, I mean, all that you read about it, or even what my nephrologist says, is basically, hey, we just kind of try to live until you lose your kidneys. It's just a downhill slide the whole time. But mine is getting better. And in fact, imaging wise, it's been a little while since I had an ultrasound, but even the last one I had, they were either the same size or smaller, which is such an interesting thing when your nephrologist just looks and says, huh, that's strange. They look smaller. It's probably a measurement error. I'm like, okay, yeah, probably so.
So it's always a bit disconcerting when you're having some kind of scan done and you hear something like "that's strange," and you're like, "Okay, strange good, strange bad, strange what?"
Right. Yeah, she was just like, huh, now what size was it? She's looking back through her notes, double checking. She's like, well, it could be a measurement error. I'm like, okay, but they're not bigger. So that's good, you know?
So, you mentioned at 51% you're at stage 3 kidney failure. Like at 88, what does that mean as far as the kind of rating scale?
That's normal. That's not in kidney failure. I'm normal
Wow.
now. Yeah.
Wow. So the only feedback you've had is that's strange or
Well, basically, I mean, she definitely she's a great doctor, I'm sure. But she is not very familiar with using ketogenic therapy to treat kidney disease at all. And in fact, the first time I went in there and mentioned it to her, and she even saw ketones on my labs, and she was just like, "Oh, that diet. There's people in the office that have done that to lose weight." And I was like, "Yeah, well, I'm trying to use it to help my kidneys, but that's what I got."
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So just to touch on um some of the other things you mentioned, you talked about the narcolepsy.
Mm-hmm.
That's and you also talked about how you're not taking drugs anymore. So that's gone.
I don't know if it's gone, but it's so much better that I can do without medication. I mean, I
Right.
still get sleepy, but it's manageable.
Right.
So,
When you like for your first pregnancy, when you went off the drugs, did you experience like moments of like just suddenly falling asleep or
Oh, it was definitely a struggle. In fact, my husband actually took a job somewhere else closer to my work so that we could carpool my entire pregnancy, which was brilliant. But yeah, we were just careful with how much I drove. But I mean, I would say my case is definitely a light case. I mean, most of the time, if I could get up and move around, I'll be okay. But it would be, long drives. If I have to sit and listen to something for an extended period of time, I would fall asleep. But I still managed life fine, obviously. I mean, I went through school, had work, had a normal job. So I must have had a lighter case than some people experience. But it is markedly better now. Like I said, no drugs at all. And I was on 100 milligrams a day of Adderall, which is a lot. And I would still drink coffee and still fall asleep. So, I mean, when I think about what that may have done to my long term health, it's kind of scary because that is a huge dose of stimulant to be taking.
yeah, when you're kind of your body's almost got immunity to that much stimulant, it's pretty scary, right?
Yeah. And I took it like it was nothing. And then I would go and get, I would go to school college mostly during the day, and then I worked evening shift. So I drive from there, sometimes have to take a quick nap in the parking lot when I got to work before I went in. And then I go to work, and then on my break, I would go across the street and get like a frappuccino with 4 shots of espresso or something in it. And this is at night. I drink that, finish my shift, and then go home, sleep, get up early in the morning so I could study and go to school. And that's kind of how I got through school, pretty much.
You were on a keto diet for a number of years. You've gone
Mm-hmm.
carnivore in the last 6 months. Your husband's
Mm-hmm.
also joined you. Um, uh, these changes you've had in the last few years are awesome. Like, have you noticed anything else?
I'm trying to think what else. Really, the food noise has improved a lot. And I know a lot of other people talk about that, but I definitely had a huge sweet tooth all my life. So that is so much better. I don't even have to think about sweets all the time. And eating this way is great for me. I love meat. In fact, I was raised hunting. So we eat venison. My dad got an elk last year, which he shared. I mean, we're definitely meat eaters. And we actually have 32 chickens now here. So eggs are always available. Um, so this it just fits in with our lifestyle so well. I love to eat meat and I love not having to think about sweets all the time and when am I going to eat dessert or what am I going to make for dessert or how am I going to shift around my macros in my meals so that I can justify this dessert or whatever the case may be.
Right. Yeah, it's so nice to break that emotional connection you have with the food, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah. So you live on a pretty big property if you've got the chickens and stuff?
Oh, pretty good sized. We have 10 acres here. So lots to do, lots of fun. I mean, I weed eating is more than a hobby at this point. It's almost like a part-time job for me sometimes. Because it there wasn't a house here before we bought it. It was just land. So there's lots of trees and branches and things that just can't be mowed and stuff like that. So it's great. I get to be outdoors a lot and I love that.
Yeah. Oh, nice. And your husband is experiencing benefits from this too?
Yes, yes. He loves it and he loves this way of eating. I think he probably sleeps a little bit better and he's noticed some additional muscle gain. I mean, he's a very fit guy too. And we both work out a lot, or at least some. And he's had some additional muscle gain and he says he feels better, clearer. Um, And he'll kind of dip his toe back in sometimes, just a little bit into regular foods, and then he immediately regrets it, and he's like, I don't know why I did that, because he just feels so much better eating carnivore, you know.
Yeah, it's I feel like when you have a digression or when you decide I'll just try what one of my old favorite foods again or whatever, it acts as a good guardrail for you because your body kind of gives you instant feedback that no, this is not this kind of stuff you should be eating, whether it's
Oh,
pain comes back or something like that.
oh, definitely, and it's even challenging, more challenging trying to eat out. We don't eat out very often, but when we do, you A, finding something that looks decent, and then B, you eat it and you're like, oh, I mean, after, I don't know what all they put in the food, but you think you're ordering something pretty plain and then you end up with a stomach ache and you're like, well, I'm not eating out for a while again.
Yeah. So, on that, like, how is your eating day to day? How many times are you eating? And is it like the whole range of carnivore, or are you pretty just meat based?
Um, I typically eat about 2 times a day, and most days I like sardines. So sardines and fried eggs is often my first meal of the day. But other than that, I definitely eat, I guess, the full range. I mean, I'll eat some pork, lots of beef, sometimes venison. Like I said, occasionally elk when I can get it. Occasionally fish, but I don't eat much dairy at all. The cheese doesn't seem to agree with me as well as it used to anymore, so I just kind of stay away from it. But yeah, that's pretty much what I eat. Lots of meat, lots of eggs, about twice a day.
Nice. And are your kids eating this way, or are they kind of eating a more standard diet?
Well, so when our son was born, Isaac, we noticed once he started eating normal food, not normal food, baby food, he was very sensitive to sugar in any form. So, like, even fruit, or if someone was like, oh, I'm going to give him a little bit of this muffin, or whatever it was, he would end up with a rash. And so we just kind of really cut all sugar out of his diet for the most part. I mean, he may occasionally eat a few berries, but we try to really limit the sugar. And then my daughter, she doesn't have that, but I think because we just kind of decided as a family we're going to try to eat healthier. She's really come along with that, and she tries to eat healthy. I'd say most of the time animal based. She will eat a little bit of other things, some sourdough bread, and I don't know, French fries, especially if she eats out or something like that. But for the most part, they are mostly meat, definitely some dairy, and then occasionally some vegetables or berries is most of their diet.
Nice. It's and the fantastic thing about it is you're setting them up for they're getting a head start on a healthy life. Um,
Yeah.
when you think about what some kids are eating now, like they're basically having every meal is ultra processed food, and then the kids are going to school and they're unable to concentrate. And yeah, it just
Oh, yeah.
seems like we're making each generation much sicker than they need to be.
Oh, definitely. And we're really fortunate because before I had Isaac, right before, I stepped away and I'm just very part time at my job. And I stay home and homeschool Isabella. I'll homeschool our son as well. He'll be starting preschool this year. So we can kind of control their environment a little bit more than some people can, you know? But everywhere they go, it's constant with that. Like they're just kind of I think it's the culture. They're just like, it's a Pop Tart race today, or it's a cereal bowl festival today, or everything's just full of sugar and processed foods all the time. And it's tough because my daughter, you know, all the kids around her are just, I mean, packaged donuts, Pop Tarts, cereal all the time. And she's just like, no, thank you. And that's tough. And with Isaac, I mean, we keep trying to tell him about what's good for his body. In fact, it's really funny in the supermarket. That's one of his favorite phrases. He just turned 4, but he'll look at something and say, "Is that good for my body? Is that good for my body?" And and people walking by us are just kind of,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Um, so have you had any family or friends kind of notice that you're eating this way?
Oh yes, our family noticed. They noticed when I was ketogenic as well, and most of my family and friends are pretty supportive of that because they they thought, well, if this is to help your kidneys, we want you to stay around. So, um, but they definitely notice. And my dad has dabbled in a ketogenic diet off and on, and so it's definitely not strange to him. But most of our family eats fairly normal. I'd say they try to be healthy, of course, but they're definitely far from carnivore. I mean, you feel like I mean, I think everybody would feel this way, but you fix your plate of meat at the family dinner and sit down, and everyone else has like a little bit of meat, and then, some grains, some vegetables, some fruit, all of that, and then you've got this big pile of meat, and they're just like, hmm. So it's a little different, but I think most of them are very accepting of it.
But the nicest thing about having that big pile of meat on your plate is, like, as you're eating it, you're completely satisfied and you're not looking around at all the other stuff on the table going, "Oh, I wanna eat that," "I wanna have the mashed potatoes," or whatever?
Very true. And we're blessed. I mean, we tend to host almost all our family holidays, parties, all of that sort of thing. So we have a great way to kind of just make sure that there's plenty of meat and things that we like to eat there because we're usually cooking a lot of it. So that makes it easy.
So you mentioned, like, you grew up hunting. Do you still, get out there and try and do some hunting?
Not as much because when we got married, my husband started hunting. So he got to continue that. And now our daughter hunts. So we really only need so much meat. I mean, I know I shot a deer when I was pregnant with her. I remember that. But I don't know. I may have gotten one since then, but since my husband missed that whole stint of his life, I was like, "No, you go. You get the deer. I'm good." And
Wow.
now we have our daughter, and I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if our son ends up wanting to hunt when he gets a little older.
Wow. So she's out there with your husband, and she's about 9 years old now?
Yes, she's getting ready to turn 10, and she's been doing it, I guess, 2 years now. Yeah.
Wow.
I did shoot my first turkey this year, turkey hunting, and that was fun. So I shot a turkey.
You're gonna do this forever?
Well, for now, sure seems like it, unless something comes up that, has strong evidence that there's a better way or a healthier way. But right now, I don't see me stopping because I just really enjoy eating this way and I like the way I feel. And like I said, this is the best kidney function I've had since before I had our son. So that's great.
Oh,
So much better than any medication could offer. So far, there's, I think, one medication on the market for PKD, and its best claim is it could slow the decline by a certain percentage, not not heal it, not make it better, not stop it. It might slow the decline, and at that, there's huge risks to your liver. You have to have your liver function tested, I think, at least monthly to make sure you're not crashing the liver at the same time. So that is just not anything I'm interested in.
It's no way to live, right? It's just constantly getting tested, and then, it's only slowing it. So,
Yeah,
I guess at some point, there's the eventual you have to go on dialysis anyway at some point, yeah.
right. Yeah, there's no stopping. It's just might slow it a little. So it's not worth the risk in my mind.
Mm. That's, well, it's fantastic you've got to this point. Um, if someone came to you and said, "Okay, Kat, I wanna give this a try. I wanna get healthier, I wanna lose some weight on carnivore, I wanna see, what I can achieve. Tell me what to do." What based on your experience, what advice and tips would you give them?
Oh boy. Um, I think I would start with depending on if they're an all-in person or someone that needs to ease into it. Like start eating more meat and less of everything else on your plate. Um, and especially avoid any sugary and processed food. And do that until you can just keep upping the meat. I mean, because really, the more you eat of it, the fuller you get. And you're going to be satiated and you're going to feel great. But yeah, definitely start eating more meat and eventually add more fat, but you want to do that slowly so that you don't overwhelm your system. But that would be my first advice because a lot of people are nervous about eating a lot of meat. They'll eat just a little bit because they think that's what's healthy. And, but, and eggs, I definitely advise them to eat some more eggs. Get some sunlight. I think that's really important. Get natural sunlight, especially the morning if you can. Get out in the sun in the morning time and try to enjoy nature as much as you can because I think that's important for our overall well being. Just getting out in God's creation and enjoying everything can be such a game changer for your perspective and I think your health as well.
Yeah. Um, and I think, on the meat front, it can be hard for some people at first to get used to being able to eat more of it and a fattier version of it, right? Because people have lived their whole lives going, just eat the lean cuts, have the chicken breast, all this kind of thing,
Yes.
and suddenly it's like now it feels like a free for all, right?
Sure. And in fact, a friend of mine was asking me the other day, she's trying to cut back on her sugar. She realizes it's gotten too much. And we were talking about eating healthier and things. And I told her, well, try upping your meat, kind of the same advice. And she was like, well, do you have any other advice? Because I don't really cook. I was like, well, can you get an air fryer? If you can get an air fryer, then you can cook, oh gosh, so many types of meat so easily. It's like the frozen burger patties. You throw them in and you have a burger. It's so easy. Or even a steak, whatever kind of meat you like to eat. You can throw it in there in like 10 minutes, probably. You will have a delicious meal. So I guess that would be my other advice for some people, especially if they're not very familiar with cooking meats, is maybe invest in an air fryer.
Yeah, that's been great for me as well because I was always terrible at cooking a steak. I'd just try and fry it, and it was never right. And it's like having the air fryer is just it's easy. Put it in, shut the door, press the button, and you're all good.
Exactly. It makes it
Mm.
so simple, though. The meal prep is so simple. That's another thing I love about carnivore. Um, I tried years ago, I tried paleo and other things like that, and just the ingredient list to try to make some of those recipes. And you're trying to go to the store and find these 10 different things and some of these spices you've never heard of just to make one dish. And now carnivore is just so simple. You just If you have a list, you go get your meats. If not, you just go pick out whatever's on sale or whatever looks good. You put it in your fridge. When you're ready to cook it, you pull it out or out of your freezer and cook it. and that's it. It's so simple.
Yeah, it's returns a lot of time in the day to you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, looking for recipes, trying to find a new recipe, trying to find all the ingredients, what stores have it, where can I find this? And just getting it all together just to make one meal. You think about all the time and the thought and the prep that goes into that, and when you can just pull something out and cook it, it's amazing.
Yeah. So, Kat, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they reach out? Do you have a website or any social media?
I don't have a website yet. I I am taking a coaching course, a certified health coaching course. Um, so I may have a website eventually because I do want to help other people the way I've been helped. So, but right now I do have an Instagram that I'm not very active on. It's Herman underscore Catherine because my name is actually Mary Catherine. And I'm also on Facebook as Catherine Herman. But if they want to reach out to me, one of those would probably be the best.
No worries. Well, I'll link to those in the show notes. Kat, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story today. I really appreciate your time.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.